Donald Trump has entered full defensive mode. In a blistering Truth Social post, he ordered Republicans to stay away from the Jeffrey Epstein story, calling it a Democrat trap. His tone wasn't cautious, it was commanding. Trump didn't just warn the GOP, he instructed them. Anyone who touches the Epstein topic, he claimed, is either very bad or very stupid. This wasn't about scandal, it was about control. Trump accused Democrats of reviving Epstein allegations only to distract from what he calls their $1.5 trillion economic disaster caused by government shutdowns. It was an aggressive attempt to shift attention, redirect blame, and unify Republicans under his narrative. But behind the loud rhetoric, Trump's sudden panic reveals something deeper. He's trying to prevent any fracture inside the GOP just as a far bigger threat approaches. A threat not tied to scandal, but to his economic legacy. A threat powerful enough to reshape the 2025 political battlefield. The real battle ahead isn't about Epstein. It's about tariffs, the backbone of Trump's America First agenda and perhaps the most vulnerable part of his presidency. Because for the first time, Trump's claims about tariffs are being tested by the only institution he cannot control, the Supreme Court. For years, Trump has sold tariffs as proof of his economic genius. He repeatedly claimed they brought $17 trillion in investment and wealth back into the United States, a number every economist rejects as mathematically impossible. Yet that didn't stop him. But now, the numbers are changing. Fast. Just last week, Trump warned that if the Supreme Court overturns his tariffs, the U.S. could lose $3 trillion. Then, 2 days later, he said the actual cost would be $2 trillion. These aren't small adjustments. These are trillion-dollar swings. The inconsistency is staggering. So what's happening? It's simple. Trump senses the danger. If the court rules that his tariffs were actually illegal taxes, everything changes. The government may be forced to refund the money. Investment numbers collapse. Tariff revenue becomes a liability, and Trump's core economic talking point disintegrates. This is why his tone is shifting from celebration to desperation. The man who once bragged about trillions in gains is now warning of trillions in losses. It's not a policy shift. It's a defensive scramble. Because if tariffs collapse, so does the narrative that Trump made America rich again. Perhaps the biggest shock came not from Democrats, but from Fox News. On live television, Trump's closest media ally did something unthinkable. They questioned his tariffs. Jackie DeAngelis opened with the standard script. The Supreme Court ruling could cost the U.S. trillions, but the panelists quickly broke the wall. Jonathan Hoenig, a longtime conservative commentator, cut straight through the mythology. Americans are paying the tariffs. Tariffs are taxes. Countries with the highest tariffs have the lowest incomes. Hearing that on Fox wasn't just surprising, it was a political earthquake. Taylor Riggs then backed it with Federal Reserve data, showing how tariff costs move through the supply chain until consumers, ordinary Americans, end up paying most of the bill. This wasn't spin. This was data. Then came the line that stunned viewers. David Asman suggested that if tariffs are legally considered taxes, then the government might have to refund all that money to taxpayers. He even calculated it, about $2,000 per taxpayer. This wasn't a disagreement. It was a revolt. The conservative media that once defended Trump's trade war was now openly questioning whether his core economic policy was built on misinformation. While Fox debated the politics, Bloomberg revealed the machinery behind the crisis. And what they found was terrifying. According to Bloomberg's October 6th investigation, if the Supreme Court rules Trump's tariffs unconstitutional, the U.S. government may have to refund most of the $165 billion collected just this year in customs duties. This isn't simple. It's catastrophic. Refunds would be issued per shipment, not per business. That means one importer could receive hundreds of refund checks. Every customs entry requires separate documentation. Every refund must be manually verified. Most of them are still issued by paper check. Bloomberg's experts warned of a bureaucratic disaster. CBP is not equipped. Treasury is not prepared. The digital refund system is incomplete, and the scale, millions of checks, could break the system. Customers would drown in paperwork. Couriers like FedEx could accidentally receive refunds meant for importers. Foreign companies might wait months for U.S. mail. Fraud and mail theft could skyrocket. One importer summed up the fear clearly. "I have zero faith we'd ever get anything back. Zero." If tariffs fall, the government faces not just a financial blow, but a logistical meltdown unlike anything seen in modern trade history. Bloomberg's reporting revealed something deeper. The U.S. trade system was never designed for mass tariff refunds. Ever. Not on this scale. CBP, Customs and Border Protection, still relies heavily on outdated, slow, fragmented systems. Tariffs were collected across millions of shipments with inconsistent paperwork, varying brokers, courier intermediaries, and often incomplete digital records. Now imagine trying to reverse all of that. Experts warn each refund requires authentication of the original customs entry. Many entries involve multiple companies, brokers, and carriers. Intermediaries like UPS or freight forwarders might receive the refunds. Importers will need to refile data going back years. Thousands may need to hire lawyers just to retrieve their own money. And for international businesses, it gets worse. Refunds must be issued to U.S. bank accounts. That means foreign companies would depend on U.S. intermediaries, creating even more legal complications. Even the Treasury Department admits that mass paper refunds create massive risk. Checks can be lost, delivered to old addresses, stolen in the mail, sold on the dark web, cashed fraudulently. With millions of checks, the system could be overwhelmed in weeks. And suddenly, Trump's tariff empire collapses, not because of economics, but because the refund system is frozen under its own weight. Bloomberg also exposed something that isn't widely known. The Trump administration is already considering backup strategies in case the Supreme Court kills the tariffs. According to sources, Trump's team is prepared to reimpose tariffs immediately under alternate legal authorities, especially the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. This law allows the president to impose economic restrictions without Congress during a national emergency. It's a powerful loophole. If the court rules against the current tariffs, Trump could declare a national economic emergency, reinstate tariffs under emergency authority, avoid congressional approval, block refunds by arguing national security concerns, delay payouts indefinitely through legal challenges. This is why Trump has been calling tariff losses a national security catastrophe. Not because of economics, but because national security is his legal doorway back to tariffs. It also explains his sudden shift from bragging to warning. He's preparing his base and courts to accept an emergency declaration if the ruling goes against him. This isn't just a trade battle anymore. It's a constitutional chess match between the executive branch and the judiciary, with trillions of dollars at stake. For 6 years, the argument was simple. China pays the tariffs. Trump repeated it. His allies repeated it. His rallies echoed it. But the data tells a different story. Federal Reserve studies, independent analyses, and now even Fox News confirm that U.S. consumers and businesses paid almost all of the tariffs, not China. Prices rose, supply chains strained, importers passed costs to distributors, then retailers, then customers. The result? Cars became more expensive. Electronics prices jumped. Furniture costs rose. Food supplies were disrupted. Small businesses absorbed massive hits. And now that the Supreme Court may force refunds, guess who would receive the money? Importers, not American consumers who paid the higher prices. The public pays, the businesses get refunded, and the government is left to rebuild a broken system. Trump claimed tariffs generated $200 billion this year. True, but the U.S. deficit is still $1.97 trillion, one of the highest in history. Tariffs didn't save the economy. They temporarily inflated revenue while masking deeper structural issues. The trade war didn't make America rich. It made America dependent on unstable revenue that could vanish with a single Supreme Court ruling. At the center of this entire storm, from shifting numbers to Fox News dissent to Bloomberg's warnings, is one final truth. Trump's tariffs were never about math. They were about power. Tariffs gave Trump leverage over China, over allies, over manufacturers, and even over his own party. They gave him a talking point, a simple story he could repeat. I made America rich again. But now, the numbers he once bragged about are cornering him. $17 trillion gained, $3 trillion at risk, $2 trillion in possible refunds, $165 billion collected this year alone. None of it matches. None of it aligns. And the Supreme Court is ready to decide whether the entire system was built on illegal authority. If the ruling goes against him, the collapse won't come from economic loss. It will come from administrative chaos, refund disasters, legal wars, and a trade system in meltdown. The irony is brutal. Trump claimed tariffs made America strong, but the investigation shows they may have made America unstable. This battle isn't about Epstein, or politics, or even economics anymore. It's about truth, and whether a system built on shifting numbers and unchecked power can survive the light. And now, the next chapter is in your hands. The story doesn't end with a court ruling or a policy reversal. It ends with you, because in a world where billion-dollar networks choose their narratives and politicians rewrite the truth in real time, independent platforms like the Macrosphere are the last line of defense. This channel has no corporate sponsors, no political donors, no silent hands shaping what we say. The only force that keeps these investigations alive is you. If you believe truth should be exposed, not edited, if you believe power should be questioned, not worshipped, if you believe people deserve honest reporting, not propaganda, then make your voice matter. Like the video, share it, drop your thoughts in the comments, because conversation is resistance. And if you want to take one step further, hit join. Even a small membership protects the Macrosphere from those who prefer silence over truth. This is not just a channel. This is the Macrosphere, a community built on awareness, clarity, and courage. And together, we're building something they can't shut down. Stay sharp, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next one.